whether you are somebody who is aware that your social media use has gotten out of hand, maybe you're chronically online, or maybe you're just exploring ways to live more mindfully overall, stick around. We're going to walk through 5 basic tools and strategies to help you do just that. Welcome back to Ponder and Practice. I am Dr. Katherine Huffman. I'm a naturopathic doctor specializing in mental health. I'm also a human design reader, and my goal here is to help empower you to be able to tune into your own inner knowing so that you can be who you are here to be without relying on external gurus. Most folks have an intellectual awareness, at least, that social media isn't really real, so to speak, just like reality TV isn't really real. But that doesn't make the emotions that it brings up and the effects that it has on our bodies and our minds and even our spirits, I would argue, any less significant. The other side to the social media story, of course, is that it is a place to be social. It's a place to connect with other folks. The world of social media has opened up connections where otherwise they probably couldn't exist. This is potentially super beneficial if folks are unable to connect elsewhere, if folks have really specific hobbies or interests. Maybe folks have support groups online because they're going through a very specific set of health circumstances or social circumstances that they're having trouble navigating. This can be a really helpful resource to have available. And while research is certainly mixed, I can say from a clinical perspective, working with a population of patients who tend to be very anxious and depressed and have some pretty significant mood dysregulation, getting off social media is really incredible for improving mood and motivation. I have had folks come back after a month after changing nothing else. They haven't changed anything else except for their social media use, and their depressive symptoms have improved, their anxious symptoms have improved, they're more motivated, they've decided, oh, I've kind of picked up, I think I'm going to start this hobby, and they're making moves in that direction. So initially, as I was thinking about putting this video together, I really was only thinking about it from the lens of habit change and achieving goals and success, really a second part to the video that I put out last week about how to make meaningful behavior change as we're thinking about the new year, resolutions, all this kind of stuff. And social media use really can impair, fuss with, mess with that dopamine system. And so how do you put kind of some boundaries and some structure around that? Maybe you do get a lot out of your social media use, but maybe it's not in the healthiest way, or maybe it's just a little bit excessive, this sort of thing. And so I was really coming at it from that angle. When it comes to social media use and this crossroads of mind, body, spirit, and being able to tune into and understand your own inner wisdom and your own inner knowing, your intuition, we could say, social media can really get in the way of that. So we have this one piece that is like behavior change and dopamine and the neurochemistry of those things. There's the other piece where if you are in a state where you're passively taking in information, which on social media we tend to do, when you're in that state, it makes it very difficult to be intentional. This is sort of antithetical to being intentional and motivated and having your own agenda of what you would like to see happen. There are times where this is super helpful and it can be a relief, or there are times where it's like, shoot, I don't know what to do. Like, let me just take a break and scroll for a minute, right? And something can pop up there. So I am mindful of that piece of it. And at the same time, if folks are sort of chronically online and always scrolling, it makes it that much harder to be able to tune into what's internal. You're looking outside, you're not really looking inside, and so you don't really know what's going on internal. You may not be able to tune into very well, what does my body say? What are my physical sensations? What is on my mind as opposed to what's being put on my mind from what I'm taking in and that information that I'm taking in. Like I said, and most of us know this as well already, so I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but views and engagement are fueled by content that evokes strong emotion. Often fear, anxiety, outrage, frustration, these kinds of things. And so when you're putting yourself in a position to be passively taking in content that is designed to mess with your emotions, guess what? Your emotions are going to be messed with. There's a gentleman who I've come across on YouTube. He's probably on other platforms as well, but his name is Chase Hughes. I'll link his channel in the description. From what I understand of the little bit of his content that I've seen, he does a lot of work with like influence, negotiation, persuasion, this sort of thing, and has a really great way of explaining why social media works the way that it does in our minds. Our brains are certainly not immune, like I said, in this dopamine system. the mind, the intellect is not immune from this at all. Certainly the emotions are not immune to this, and I don't think our spirits are immune to this either. So how do we make the most out of it? How do we make the most out of social media? This is sort of something that is here to stay at this point, it seems. And while I have seen a lot more folks talking about stepping away from social media in various forms, there is also a lot of information that we get off social media. There is also potentially a fair bit of connection that we get off of social media. And so taking all of these things into account, the first step here, if you're building some structure and some mindfulness around your social media use, is why are you using it in the first place? Why are you here? Why are you here on YouTube today? Why are you scrolling in the first place? If your family is anything like ours, you have folks kind of scattered across the country, and so social media is the only place where maybe you get to see baby pictures from your cousins or your siblings. Maybe it's the only place where uncles, aunts get to stay updated about your own children. Marketing is another use of social media, certainly making money, business, this sort of thing. Education, exploring what you're curious about. And these are all really valid, good reasons to use social media. As you're thinking about this, why are you on social media? Are there less constructive reasons that you're using these platforms? Do you really enjoy that agitation and that outrage that you get from different political content? Do you enjoy the rage bait? You enjoy that strong emotional feeling that you get from that? Maybe other places in your life feel very flat, and so that spike of emotion feels really good. Or are you just trying to recharge and you're really using that dopamine hit from looking at your feed and checking your notifications as a proxy for actual rest? Maybe you don't know what to think, right? There's a lot going on in the world. There is a lot happening all of the time, and somehow we seem to need to know about it always because the internet exists. And with all of this going on, do you feel uncertain? You don't know what to think. You don't know kind of how to parse things out. And so you're relying on creators and influencers to tell you. Or maybe it's just a habit. You don't even think about it anymore. You just like kind of your thumb naturally hits that Instagram button, that TikTok button. It's not a button, the app. Oh my gosh. So maybe you're just sort of muscle memory tapping on these apps and opening them up and scrolling through. Right? There's no judgment here. We all have our reasons for using social media. I certainly can relate to all of these different reasons for using it. And I think most folks can if they're honest with themselves. The important piece here is that if you know why you're using it, you can then use that information to structure your use far more intentionally so that you're getting out of social media what it is that you actually want. Step 2 is more awareness. I know I'm always talking about like awareness, but it just is so important. So check the stats. How much time are you actually spending on different social media apps and feeds? I don't know. I've had an iPhone since I've had a smartphone, so I don't know how the other ones work, but my understanding is that most smartphones have some sort of screen time feature where you can look at how many times you've picked up your phone throughout the day, how many minutes, hours you've been spending on different apps. We tend to underestimate how much we've eaten. We tend to overestimate how much we've exercised. I think we also tend to underestimate how much time we actually spend on social media platforms. So as you're looking at this data and kind of taking it in, something else to think about is, does the amount of time you're using social media really line up with your reasons for wanting to use social media, right? So if you're somebody who is using social media for marketing, spending, I don't know, an hour or two on there a day, depending on your role, maybe more than that if it's your full-time job, that makes a lot of sense. Meanwhile, if you are somebody who just wants to stay connected to family, spending 3 hours a day scrolling doesn't really meet that. You probably only need, 15 minutes a day, if that. Maybe reply to some messages, see if anybody's up to anything new and interesting. Remember, there aren't any right answers here. There aren't necessarily any wrong answers here. It's really about awareness. Tool number 3 or step number 3 is to make a routine, maybe make a list. I have worked with folks who are like, oh, well, I need to use social media because this is where I get my news, and I have some friends that I don't really talk to or see very often, and so I want to know what's going on with them. Cool. Happy for you to do that. Let's make some routines and set some boundaries around that behavior. Taking a look at what your favorite creators have posted once a week on Friday, right? You're not looking at it throughout the week, but Friday comes, yes, it's the weekend. I'm going to take half an hour and just like see what my favorite folks are up to. Awesome, fantastic. And this also helps you to use social media in the way that you want, right? So this whole process is really based on what are you looking to get out of social media and how do you use it to achieve that aim. And so doing this helps you to do exactly that. while you're not ending up in an hours-long scroll sessions throughout the week. Maybe if you have kind of an unofficial weekly call set up with your parents, maybe you check social media right before or right after, get caught up on what other folks in the family or the community are up to. Maybe you are looking to stay caught up on the news or current events. Maybe there's a creator you really like who has a really nice way of presenting news and current events or things that are more relevant to you in your life. Maybe you have a timer set for 10 minutes in the morning while you have your coffee. I really like Unbiased Jordan. She also has a newsletter that comes out on Substack a few times a week, and she has a podcast. So personally, I subscribe to her newsletter, so I don't need to go on social media and see what is going on. The other piece of this is a list really can come in handy if you do have favorite creators that you want to stay caught up with. So instead of scrolling, be targeted. You go in, hit the search button, pull up, maybe those 5 folks, I don't know, however many there are, see what they've been posting throughout the week, and then sign off. Kind of like have a plan, get in, get out. One other thing to think about in terms of routine is to make a habit of shutting social media off at least half an hour before bed, preferably an hour, ideally 2. That socially charged information before bed can really impair sleep because it makes us activated. Social cues are very activating. Those heightened emotions of fear and anxiety and outrage and jealousy and all these different kinds of things, inferiority maybe, insecurity are very activating, and so that can really impair sleep. So step number 4 or tool number 4, depending on how you're approaching this, is to bundle your scroll with a positive habit. The notifications and the scroll mechanisms on social media are specifically designed to ping the reward pathways in the brain. They are designed to keep you engaged. So use this to your advantage. Bundle your social media habit with another habit that is positive that you're looking to build. So for a few examples, if you are looking to do more cardio in the gym, only use your social media apps while you're on the treadmill or the Stairmaster or the elliptical or whatever your machine of choice is. Or maybe only use social media after you've gotten your reps in if you're looking to lift more weights, not between reps, right afterwards. Maybe you take, 5-10 minutes, cool down, get on the bicycle for a few minutes, and then you can do your scrolling in that time. Maybe you're working on getting into a meal prep routine. Only use social media after you have made your meal plan. Maybe you get 5 minutes. You plan your meals, sweet, I get 5 minutes of social media time. Or you need to go to the grocery store and prep your meals. Cool, maybe you get 5 minutes when you get home from the grocery store, and then you maybe get 15-20 minutes, a little bit longer time when you've actually done the meal prep. These are just a few ideas and examples. This could look any kind of way you want to set it up. The point is that you use the rewards inherent in social media to really get your habits on track in other ways that are more productive and constructive over the long term. So number 5 is a little bit of a tricksy step or tool, is just don't use social media. This is, if you're looking to stay connected and that sort of thing, maybe less of an option, but I would argue there are other ways to stay connected that are potentially more beneficial. But take some time away from socials altogether. Delete the apps, or if you're not ready to delete the apps, I would question why and say like, oh, what does this say about how I'm using this, how I'm using these platforms? But if you're not ready to delete them, build some more friction into the process of just like tapping on them and opening them by hiding them away. So you might put them like in the utilities folder on your phone or somewhere that you don't often go on your phone, just not on that home screen that's there right when you open up your phone or unlock. For some folks, staying off of social media for one day is a really good and significant goal. For other folks, trying for a month without is a really wonderful goal to reach for. I did a video a while back about keeping a secular Sabbath and really using one day a week as a time to rest and recharge and kind of reacquaint yourself with yourself and your own inner thoughts and kind of the people who are in your immediate vicinity. And this can also be a really nice way to build in some social media free time into your week of whenever you're taking your day off, you're not on social media. Remember, like we talked about before in last week's video, chronic, regular social media use really can wreak havoc with the dopamine system. If you are somebody who is chronically online, it's likely if you stop using social media, you're gonna feel a little bit down. You're gonna feel like, meh, for a few days, for the first day or two that you're not using social media. This will pass, right? And the other piece to think about here is that if you're used to scrolling for hours and hours a day, you then have these huge chunks of time. What are you going to do with them? It's much easier to step away from social media or any kind of habit that you're looking to change, it's easier to step away from these things if you have something else. You're like, okay, I'm not going to use social media, but I'm going to read this book that I've been meaning to read, or I have a pile of magazines I've been wanting to flip through, or there's this recipe I really want to try out, I'm going to make that, or, I really need to get the dog out for a little bit of a longer walk, I'm going to do that during this time. I have been really out of touch with my family members. Let me call, see what they're up to while I'm out on my walk with my dog, right? So many birds with just one stone. As you go, if you opt out of social media for a little while, notice what changes. Does your mood dip? And then does it come back? And is it better? Does your ability to focus change? Has your quality of thinking changed as you have been off of social media? Has your sleep changed at all? Maybe you're sleeping better. I don't know. Maybe you're sleeping worse. Could go either way. Most of the time I see folks sleeping a little bit better when they tone down their social media use, particularly before bed. And what about motivation? What about creativity? Have these things shifted at all? These are all changes I have heard from folks clinically. These are also things I have experienced myself when I have stepped away from social media. So notice how it goes. Remember, social media is curated from how the platforms are structured, how notifications are delivered, the endless scroll of the platforms, and then the content itself certainly is curated, regardless of whether this is the highlight reel of somebody else's life or if it is like rage bait content or political content that's really designed to provoke outrage. Social media has its hooks in us because it is designed. It's designed on purpose to tap into the emotional and reward pathways in the brain. So if you are really looking to tune into your own inner knowing and be in control of your own thoughts and feelings and opinions, take control of your social media use. Be really mindful about how you are using it. If you would like to leverage your own human design in this process, your unique design, and really learn more in depth how to tune into your intuition, how to understand your own inner knowing from a body-based perspective, you can book a virtual reading today. You will receive a one-of-a-kind guide that explains each and every component of your unique design, not only for improved self-awareness, but also with practices that you can navigate your life with greater ease and joy and fulfillment, ideally. I do have a modest goal to reach 50 subscribers by the end of March, so I would love if you would hit that subscribe button if you got some value out of this content. It also helps other folks find the channel who can benefit from this information as well. And before I go, I would love to hear from you. Why do you use social media? Have you cut back on your use? Do you consider YouTube social media? This is a question that I hear a lot of folks like, yeah, so YouTube doesn't really count, it's a little bit different, and you're like searching a little bit differently, this sort of thing. Have you taken a break from social media? Have you done any of the kind of dopamine fast kinds of things? How has that gone for you? Did you notice anything there? At any rate, would love to hear from you and your journey and relationship with social media. And that will be all that I have for you today. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care.